Edinburgh Castle, Buckingham Palace, Manchester United. Britain does icons like no other place on earth, but travel here and you'll still find a land of hidden gems. Few places pack so much into a small space. Landscapes range from the sandy beaches of South Wales to the snowfields of the Cairngorms, from the lush, quilted farmland of Kent to the naked limestone terrain of the Yorkshire Dales. 3 nationalities, 24 different dialects, more than 60 distinctive cities, all in a country you could drive across in a day.
We've done it.
Wow.
Yes. I always want to say something easy. Hello, Scotland. You represent your country right now for us. You're the embodiment of Scotland.
Wow, mate. There's too much to bear.
What I love that you've got a Highland cow in the picture behind you. And just to join in, I poured myself some Iron Brew.
Nice.
And I brought my picture of Edinburgh Castle then.
Fantastic. Love it.
Keep those Scottish vibes going. So, do you
want to part and cushion here as well, maybe? Yeah.
Oh yes, everything is everything's set for a great. This could go viral, Mark. This could be it. So, I'll go for the question short because the first one's kind of getting to know you a little bit. So, the first bit is literally tell us a bit about yourself. So, who you are and what kind of family do you have, what do you do, and then where do you live, and what are some of your favourite local spots?
Well, I'm Mark Sutherland, and I'm married to Jen, and we have 3 children. Leah, who's 5, Poppy's 3, and Jacob, who is 10 months. So yeah, as you know, mental household.
He has got some cool hair these days as well. He's getting those curly locks.
He is. I think when I look back at pictures of myself as a baby, he's an absolute clone.
Oh really? So
I had the same curls at the back and everything. So yeah, it's bizarre.
Every time I see him, I just want to buy him a shirt with cacti all over it and give him a ukulele.
Definitely do that. But yeah, so yeah, there's the 5 of us living here just on the, I suppose, the kind of outskirts of Edinburgh. So not officially in Edinburgh, but yeah, that's us. That's our wee family. What did you ask what I did?
Yeah, what do you do? And some of your favourite local spots?
Yeah, okay. So my job is a funeral director or undertaker. And I had to explain that to my 5-year-old this morning.
Oh wow!
Actually, it's in the song, in a Mulan song. It talks about the fear of the undertaker, and she was like, "What's an undertaker?" I was like, "Well, that's me." Yeah, I'm gonna have to go into the details of it, but yes, that's what I do. That's my job. I've done that for about 5-6 years now, almost.
Wow! Yeah.
Honestly, I love it. I love it. It wasn't ever something I was looking to get into. Never planned to be a funeral director. Didn't think when I was at school that that was something I wanted to be. But yeah, sort of stumbled into it. Felt like it was genuinely God's leading, God's hand in that as well. And genuinely feel like I am where God's placed me, which is quite amazing, really. But yeah, just would never ever have thought that that's what I'd be doing at this stage in my life. But I love it. I love there's a nice sense of satisfaction when things go well, there's I suppose a way to help people at some people it's their darkest time, that sort of grief and that stage that they've found themselves in, either never been in that position before where they've lost a loved one, and I suppose just it can be dark, it can be heavy, and so to be able just to be a presence in that, and to say, or to be that sort of that one that they can trust through that process of a funeral, and just getting everything sorted logistically and practically, and then just talking them through things and helping in that way. It's really, really rewarding, and I think just when it goes smoothly, which 9 times out of 10 it does go well, there's just a real sense of satisfaction when you've helped a family through a difficult time. So
absolutely, yeah.
Love it. Really, honestly, love it. I think there's not been all that many opportunities to share. I wouldn't say necessarily to share my faith.
Yeah.
There has been a few, like a couple, but in general, it's just more I just feel like your conduct and the way that I conduct myself.
Yeah.
They're really, it's a key part of that. And I think, as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, you want to just reflect Jesus in every way, and that's another in which it can be done. I'm sure we've all got different ways within our own jobs that we can do that, and for me, that's definitely that first point of call when you're just, people are, you don't know what you're going to get on the end of the phone. I think for me, that's the thing. And you just get a real mixture of people. But if I can be that sort of, just I suppose that little bit of light in the darkness, then definitely it's amazing.
Awesome. I mean, we could just end the interview here and not go on. That was good. That was good. I'm going to ask you about local spots, even though there's a few in my head that I feel like you might mention. And if you don't, I'll definitely bring them up for this.
Okay. You've actually got a few lined up, have you?
I mean, I'm just thinking, I can't remember what it's called anymore. Where's the place that does the amazing desserts? But we had like the Eggs Benedict that morning, which was delicious.
Oh, yeah. The Cakes and Shakes?
Cakes and Shakes, that's the one.
Yeah, we actually, Jen still talks about the sweet potato fries from there. We've not been back for a while, and they're pretty epic. So that's proper local. That's Musselburgh local.
Yeah.
It was like, at the minute, we're all about the parks, mate. We love a park. Having the 3 wee ones. In fact, we're not even able to go to the park at the minute, which is fortunate.
Yeah.
We love a park. So there's a few decent parks about the area. We're spoilt for choice, I think. And a decent walk along the river. There's a nice river running through Musselburgh, so that's quite a nice wee spot to kind of wander along. But I suppose if you were coming to visit like Edinburgh, essentially you'll have done this yourself before, but you're obviously flying from Belfast International. Obviously, you get a tram into Edinburgh at the centre of town. Maybe early morning, maybe 7 o'clock, say something like that. And you get in, you take a nice wander along through Princes Street Gardens, up the Mound. Check the architecture out of the old town. Maybe up the Royal Mile, up towards the castle, which you've got the picture of.
Love that.
And then I suppose head over to the Meadows. The Meadows is nice big sort of park that you can kind of do whatever you want to do in there.
Yeah, I mean you've missed out Camera Obscura.
Camera Obscura, yeah, right enough. Right next to the castle. Yeah. You don't have a token actually for that? Did you know?
No, the token I won was for mini golf. I feel like that's now null and void, but the moment of winning it is enough for me. I didn't need to go back.
Brilliant. But yeah, so generally Edinburgh is lovely, isn't it? It's just if you've got a nice day, if you get a nice day of weather and stuff, you could spend a good few days, I think. Just
absolutely.
Around. Even the Fudge Kitchen on the Royal Mile.
Oh, mate, I was about to say we went there the day before we left last time, and we savoured we made that fudge last, for a long time. But yeah. Oh, it was so good.
But the good thing is about it is they know you're in there not to buy anything, but just to take the samples. So go in there, ask for a few samples, and then leave. There's no issues with that.
Oh,
No
we
problem.
bought some. Why'd we do that?
Next time, mate, you'll know.
Oh, they had me though with they had like dark chocolate and sea salt fudge, which was so good.
Was it?
Mm. I
did.
did stand and watch the guy make fudge for a good 5 minutes. It was just so therapeutic watching this
It's
guy.
classic, isn't it?
It's so good.
Amazing.
I think the other question linked to that was, what do you think your country is best known for? Like, what is Scotland famous for?
I suppose it's quite well known for like a fair amount of good stuff, historically.
Hmm.
Different inventors, different I don't know, writers, poets, and things like that. Scotland, Braveheart, William Wallace, all that carry on.
Yep.
Um,
There's a lot of good, yeah, some good preachers in
and,
there.
and there's some good preachers in there as well, to be fair, yeah. Yeah, I suppose like when you think of the history of the church, Scotland has been, a massive hotspot, back in the sort of early days. Like say John Knox and people like that have influenced sort of the Christian faith.
Mm.
These guys have been crucial.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. I mean, I'm also a big fan of tartan. It just,
Tartan, Andy Murray,
yeah.
he's given us some moments, isn't he?
So was his mum, in fairness.
So
What a terrifying lady.
yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of good. I did not talk this highly of England when I was chatting to the Higgins family last week.
Oh no.
I mean, I've always said if you made me move somewhere else in the UK, I'd hands down Scotland would be the easiest choice.
There's just that sort of Celtic connection, isn't there?
I think so, yeah. Plus, I can't describe the number of times I went on holiday as a kid with to Spain, and every time me or my dad talked, they were just like, "Oh, whereabouts in Scotland are you from?" Just like, I couldn't see.
You're probably talking to English people, are you?
Yeah. Let's not take that any further. We'll just. So the next one, probably slightly more awkward question to ask because Steph is not beside me. But how do we know each other?
Yes, we go a few years back now, mate, don't we? Was it maybe about? I think it must have been about 8 years ago. Myself and Jen, before we were married, we went on a trip, a mission trip to Thailand and Laos, and Steph was on that team. And from then, certainly Jen and Steph have been close, and well, Steph's just amazing at keeping in touch. So thankfully she has, and we've kept in touch since then, and our lives have kind of moved together, and we've been part of each other's lives. And so you then appeared a couple of years later, and yeah, it was just kind of we've kept in touch. We've been over, obviously Mike's over there, so fairly, maybe not all that often, but we would hope to kind of try and come over maybe once a year if possible. So we tend to catch up with you guys, when we're over as well, and then you would sometimes come over to Edinburgh and things. So yeah, that's the kind of the backstory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been. I think the first time I came over to see you guys, to meet you guys, was whenever Leah wasn't very long born.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay, so she was born then. She was actually. So that would have been 2014. So that's about almost 6 years ago then.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we met.
Yeah.
Because I can still remember going to that museum and the fire alarm going off. And then we were just like, let's not go back in there. We'll just go to Nando's.
That's good, yeah. Wow, mate. Okay.
So moving from kind of like getting to know you to kind of more spiritual side of things, could you share a little bit of how you came to faith?
Okay, yeah. I am one of four, so I've got an older brother, a younger sister, and we grew up in a Christian home. My mum and dad took us along to church, just as so many of my friends in church would have done as well. As babies, we've grown up through the church. So church is not a strange place for us to be. It's more abnormal not to be in church than it is to be in church. So, so we've, I've been brought up in the faith. I've been, taught it from a young age, and I was just raised as my mum and dad, teaching us these truths from the Bible, giving us the gospel in the practical sense of how we live our lives, as well as regular times around the Bible as a family, sort of family devotions and things like that. But also as well as that, so I'm like extra, just to add on the extra, they sent us to a Christian school. So
yeah, I forgot.
So it wasn't always like that though, because my older brother and myself, we went to mainstream school for the first few years. Actually, Mike went to the local primary school up until primary 5, and I was there till primary 3. So the two of us were in mainstream, and then they took us out and put us in Manafield's Christian school, which is it's in the sort of northeast of Edinburgh. And so not only did we go to church every Sunday, not only did we spend time in the Bible as a family on a regular basis, but we also went to Christian school. So I feel like all of those things were ways in which I was shaped as a person and taught the truth. But at the same time, the more and more that I was taught, and the more that I learned and took on, I suppose God was showing me that all of that actually makes no difference to my life. It makes no difference to me and my sort of standing before God. So it was all helpful and it was all good stuff, but it just made no lasting difference to me. So I think, if I'm honest, I couldn't tell you a specific date in which I gave my life to Jesus, which I think is probably quite a common thing. The more I talk to girls that have grown up in church, there was probably, I remember a number of times doing this. So Lord, forgive me for my sins. I want to be a Christian. I want to follow you in my life, and I want you to help me to do that. Simple prayers, but then maybe having a bad couple of months, a bad run, and feeling like, I should probably say that prayer again, because I don't know if I really meant it that time, and I'm going to mean it this time. So I think it was just a gradual. I feel like it'd be a gradual sort of shaping and molding. And God just, God's grace just working in my life for, well, I'm almost 30, mate. So, it's been a gradual thing over the last, I don't know, 20 years maybe.
Yeah.
I think probably there was key moments. I can think of key moments in my life. I can remember a lot of sort of flashbacks of saying these prayers and saying, I wanted to be a Christian. I remember one time in the car, I told my mum and dad that I'd said that prayer, and there was a sort of like, a bit of commotion, and that's great, excellent stuff. I suppose as a teenager, I remember, well, I'm sure you can imagine, coming out of Christian primary school to then hit mainstream high school.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what's going on? Like, it was just wild. And I wasn't wild, personally. I was generally all I was bothered about as a teenager was football, and friends, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Bit of that social aspect. I feel like I was protected from other aspects of that, and saved from that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, yeah, football was what consumed me, and that those teenage years, I would say they were in some ways maybe quite empty, quite shallow, but still, as I look back, I know that God's hand was on my life, my mind, on the decisions that I was making, on the company that I was keeping. So generally speaking, I feel God was still with me in those days, but they weren't productive days. They weren't, I didn't spend them well. But then as I left school and sort of moved into sort of work spheres, and even just getting in a relationship with Jen, I think we were sort of 16, 17 years old, so we're young kids, but even our relationship kind of went from strength to strength. We were trying to honor God in it, as we got to know each other and got closer and closer. That was not easy though. That was a really challenging time. As much as it was amazing, because we loved each other, we wanted to be together, and we've seen our future together. That then brings with it naturally the temptations, physically and emotionally, and all these things. So so there's ways of you can see yourself progressing and thinking, I feel close to God in these stages, and then there's other things that you just think, oh man, I made a mess of that, I made a pig's ear of it. So, but certainly 2010, so almost 10 years ago, 10 years ago this summer, I went to Brazil, and I went for 2 months. Went on my went on my own. I didn't know anyone, but I went with a team, and we went to serve local people in a place called Recife, which is the northeast of Brazil, just right on the coast. And we stayed in a favela. We lived, and we did everything that the locals were doing in that time. We arrived just as Brazil had been punted out the World Cup, so it was a really interesting. They still had the banners and the flags up, but it was like too sore to take them down, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that experience and that time away, out of comfort zones and out of the easiness of life, that was massive in shaping me as a Christian, I think. And I really had a sense of, I think, just of God's hand on me, and a closeness with God, and a developing of a relationship with Him.
Yeah.
Which was quite amazing. And then, as I said to you before about meeting Steph, so when we then went to Thailand for a few weeks the following summer, again, that was massive in shaping my faith. So yeah, in summary, I don't have a specific date that I told you, that I came to believe, but I feel like there has been certainly just this natural and general sort of progression through my life that God has opened my eyes to the truth of the gospel. He's caused me to see it. He's caused me to see my need for Jesus, my need for a saviour. He's shown me my sin, and continues to show me my sin. And just, I suppose, the need to preach the gospel to myself every day, and how I need that in my life. So I'm thankful to God for that. But yeah, I don't know if that, hopefully that kind of answers your question, mate.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's funny, just as you were saying that, I think it was about 5 years ago, I read a book called Gospel Wakefulness by, I think it was George C. Wilson, where he talks about how, for him, the journey of following Jesus kind of has these moments of gospel wakefulness. So whenever you become a Christian, that your eyes are open to the gospel and you respond by trusting in Jesus. But then as life goes on, you have these moments where just a little bit more of the gospel kind of hits you and your eyes are opened a little bit more. And just as you journey through life, you have these moments where you just wake up more and more to who Jesus is, to what he's at. And I just love that kind of mentality as well. I think that's helpful because I can't really say there was a definite date for me either.
Yeah. No, that's helpful, mate. Definitely. Certainly seems like my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And what are you for next? Next question is, so a little bit about your church. Is there anything you're involved with there, or any kind of things that are happening there at the moment that are kind of exciting you, or good things that are going on?
Yeah, so we attend, are members of Musselburgh Baptist Church. So the situation there, we're right on the harbour, so lovely setting for a church, right at the sea, and yeah, a really nice spot, to be fair. I've pretty much gone there, all my days. Jen was different; she was at a different church, and then we've decided to kind of part of Musselburgh. So it's brilliant. We love our church. So much so that it's not necessarily our local church now, because we've moved just slightly out of Musselburgh. It's still technically Musselburgh, the kind of outskirts. And there's a nice, healthy gospel centre church and just down the hill from us. So we've had chats about that, over the last number of years. But we love the church that we're in and are part of. That we just, we couldn't see ourselves moving from it.
Yeah, and there are kind of Northern Irish ties with your church in a way, because I know there's a lot of people that have gone to uni from Northern Ireland and have ended up joining your church while they're studying.
They're everywhere, mate. They're everywhere. No, well, yeah, definitely. So even my own family. So Michael, older brother, he married Laura, and she's from Mackara. And then my younger brother, Paul, he married Rachel, and she's from Ballymena, I think.
She may well be, actually. Yeah, I can't remember. Steph and Jen are so much better at these details.
Somewhere in Northern Ireland. So yeah, like the church, the church is riddled with Northern Irish, mate.
You make it sound like a disease.
Hey, absolutely not. We're blessed. We're absolutely blessed by them.
Thank you so much.
But no, we were, so there's a lot going on at the minute, mate. Obviously we're struggling because we're not able to meet together, which so many of us are feeling. I feel like almost like that's the biggest thing for me, even for us as a family. Like we're just missing being at church. We're just missing being as a church family. And just I can't wait to sing again, mate. Can't wait to sing "All People That on Earth Do Dwell" unaccompanied. First hymn. The hands will be up. It's going to be epic.
I don't want to burst your bubble, Mark, but I feel like once we get to go back to church, we're not going to be allowed to sing for a little while.
I know.
Or just sing but wear a mask.
Yeah. To be fair, there's some people that should have been doing that a while ago anyway. But it's such a shame. We're finding it hard, but as a church, to kind of answer your question, church is healthy. It's doing well. We're seeing sort of, suppose it's a growing church. It's we're seeing people coming in who are being saved, or they're coming out of the darkness, if you like, coming in from the cold. And I suppose there's been a real sort of drive in trying to encourage the people in the church to be really trying to reach out to our colleagues and our neighbours and our friends. Because surely that is just the best way to connect with people, and those people that you're living your life alongside, and that you're, you know, doing life with, surely those are the people that you're going to have more influence on than running a course or doing a leaflet drop, or, you know, all these things. Not that there's a place for those things, but, you know, if you're rubbing shoulders with these people, you can bring them Jesus at the same time. So I think we've seen effects of that. We've seen fruit of that. Ones and twos coming in, which is amazing. Yeah, so, you know, it's exciting just to hear that God is at work, and to see it with our own eyes as well. But at the same time, you know, you can also kind of maybe get down as well, because you're thinking, no, I've tried to talk to my mate Andy at work. A number of times, sent him messages to try and like tune in, and he's just not interested. He's just not bothered, and you're just like, it's just demoralising at times, isn't it?
Yeah. No, definitely. It's the long game, with people, and I think that's I think my biggest challenge is continual kind of prayer for those people and those opportunities, instead of kind of when you have that moment where it doesn't go well, it can be so easy to just kind of go, I'll leave that for a while, but it's just sticking at it and keeping that person on your heart.
It takes I suppose it's to remind ourselves that it's not of us, it's not us that does that work of and at the same time, you know, God doesn't need us to transform someone's life, but he also, you know, chooses to use us and work through us. So definitely the power of prayer and the need for more prayer is it's a lesson we can always be learning, isn't it?
Massively so, yeah. But it's such like, I think I need to remind myself constantly that it's not me that will save someone, because that just lifts that weight off your shoulder. Because sometimes you get into that mentality, and you get so kind of tired and weighed down because you're convinced that your efforts are all that there is. But that's true. Plus, on a positive note, I having sampled the coffee at your church, it's decent.
We had a wee sort of like overhaul the last maybe year or so. There was a committee set up, you know, and there was some serious questions thrown about as to how to deal with the situation of the coffee. I'm glad to hear it's been effective.
Oh, totally. You can pass that on to your church leadership. That's
fantastic news.
In fact, just the other day, I was chatting to Ryan from our church about Krispy Kremes as well. That just popped into my head when I thought about good coffee.
Yes. Do you know, mate, that's one of my last lockdown or out of lockdown photos.
Really?
The Krispy Kreme, yeah. You guys had sneaked in just before they closed the doors.
Oh man, it was such a good moment.
Oh, it was.
So my last question, Mark, is basically, has God been teaching you anything during lockdown, or what kind of things have you been thinking about, or do you think you've kind of been learning from this strange situation?
Two things. Hold on, I'm going to just get this little book.
Yeah, no worries.
So there was one of the things was I came across recently. I think it was, I want to say Genesis 16, but now I'm doubting myself.
When that happens, it's when people ask me like, "What's one of your favorite Bible verses?" I'm like, I mean, this is one of my favorite Bible verses, and normally I can tell you off by heart, but just because you've asked me that question, I'm going to fumble it.
Yes, right. So Genesis 16, there's a story of, so it's the Abraham getting chosen, plucked out from Ur of the Chaldeans, and him and his wife, you know, they set off and you know they go to the land that God has given them. Anyway, Sarah can't have children, yet they've been promised that they're going to get, you know, descendants as numerous as the stars and the sand, and they're kind of like, well, what's going on here? Because, you know, I'm barren. There's no nothing happening here. So obviously they get Hagar, don't they? They get Hagar involved, and she starts popping them out, doesn't she? Anyway, there's a bit at the end of chapter 16. Sarah's been like treating Hagar like terribly because of the jealousy towards her and stuff. But she says in verse 13, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. She said, you are a God of seeing. For she said, truly, here I have seen him who looks after me. And in the version that I read in the NIV, it said that you're the God who sees me. It said there, or would I have looked here for the one who sees me? So it was just that little verse, but it stood out to me just in these last number of weeks and those months. But just the truth that God, the living God, the God of the Bible, is the God who sees me. Just as he sees Hagar in this, she's crying out as she's pleading with God almost to say, help me in this situation. I've been banished.
Yeah.
But you're God who sees me. And so, when we're sitting here in our houses wondering what on earth is going on during lockdown, as Jen's literally pulling her hair out because she just doesn't know how she can do another day with 3 kids while I'm at work. And just to read that and to know that that's still true today, that the God of the Bible sees me, that he's concerned about me, he's interested in what's going on in my life, and that's that's the same for us all as children of God, as believers. So that's been something that's really stuck with me over the last couple of weeks. So I'm kind of that's kind of probably the one thing that sort of stand out. I also got this book. You can see it there, The Way Forward. You know that one?
Do you know, I've never heard of it, but I immediately like the design.
Oh, I think you'll like it, mate. I love it, so I think you'll like it. It's called The Way Forward by Joe Barnard. Don't know who he is. Not really that bothered, to be honest, but a mate of mine had recommended it. We've got a little sort of WhatsApp chat with a lad study that we do once a month. And he'd sort of sent it on to say, my mum bought me this book. Don't know why she bought me it, but I've just read it and it's brilliant. I would recommend it. And so a few of us bought it. So I'm halfway through it just now. So I can't give you the proper sort of book review of it, but honestly,
no spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been like so encouraged by it, and really helped. And I think the one key word that I would take from this book is captivated. So the little sort of subtitle is a roadmap of spiritual growth for men in the 21st century. It kind of goes on to say, there's loads and loads of books about discipleship, and there is. You go into any Christian bookshop and you'll find loads of books about it. What they're trying to say here is, we know that, but we want to try and navigate a way to improve this spiritual growth, to help this spiritual growth that is affecting so many men in the 21st century. So the one word captivated is the one word that I've just kind of taken from it so far, and just realized that for me to be growing spiritually as a man, as a Christian man, as a husband, as a father, there needs to be a shift. There needs to be a removal of idols that are currently sitting on the throne of my life. They need to be stripped back, and I need to be simply captivated by Christ, by Jesus. And that's massive to work through. That's it's almost really simple to say, but the reality of that in my own life, how I've spent my time, how I spend my money, all these different aspects of my own individual life, they all come down to this, this approach, this love for Jesus. And if I am truly captivated by Christ, by the things of God, then all these other things, these massive, attractions and things that want to pull us, left and right, they just become less attractive. And I'm not, I've not cracked that. I've not, sussed that out, and now that's now what I'm doing, and I can say that I'm now captivated. I would say that I want to be captivated. I'd say that that's my desire. I want that for my family. I want that for my life. But I realise that there's a lot still to be done in my heart and my own, life. As I hopefully then just progress and become more like Jesus. So, yeah, those two things there would be my sort of two big things that I think that God's been showing me and teaching me just over the last couple of months.
That's so good. Thank you very much, Mark. You've even done a cool link there without even knowing it, that we're on a UK road trip, and you're talking about a roadmap to navigate. He's no idea he's just done that, but that's spot on. That's good. No, thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight and for representing Scotland so well.
I feel like I should have been wearing my Scotland top, really. I
mean, nah, I can. I was going to say I'll edit one in, but I can't do that. You need to try and work against some of those stereotypes. It's not all.
Yeah,
it's not
it's true.
Freedom and Ironbury. It's other stuff as well.
Cool. Okay.